Okay, I'm going to tell you about this incredible journey, about this life-changing experience that happened. I had a cochlear implant on the 27th of May this year, and it's been a long journey for me because 30 years ago I was at work one day and one of my assistants said to me, "I'm sure you got wax in your ears because you never listen." So of course 30 years ago, which was a very, very long time ago, I went off to, she made an appointment, I went to go and see this ENT, and it was at the Joburg Gen, a long time ago, and there was a man called Professor McIntosh, and he had all his interns, and they were all like looking and going, "You deaf? What is it you don't understand? You've got no hearing in your left ear." So I was like, "Really?" They said, "Yes." Well, obviously because I couldn't hear it. So how would I know I'm deaf? Because I'm in my left ear. So they then sent me off to 101 different tests, and they just said that it must have been viral. You must have been deaf for a long time. But your right ear is fine, so you need to make sure that you look after your right ear. I went to multiple, 20 years ago, then I went to other ENTs because he now was out of mainstream and the Gen wasn't really an option anymore. And a friend of mine told me to go and see Dr. Neil Scott and at the Morningside, and I went to see him and he said, "Oh, maybe we need to give you a hearing aid," 20 years ago. And they gave me this hearing aid. And once every 2 or 3 years I would go and they would either upgrade it or, all I noticed is the hearing aids were getting bigger and bigger. And I kind of realized, oh, this is not too good. Then my daughter was getting married last year in November. And I was busy working. My bosses are all in New York and in Los Angeles. And at the wedding, at my daughter's wedding, I was sitting, watching. I can't hear the speakers, something's wrong. So the following week I went off to see Kerry. There was my audiologist and said, "Something's very wrong, I couldn't hear the speeches at my daughter's wedding." And she said, "Okay, let me do a test." And she went, "Wow, what's happened? Your hearing is going." It's like, I don't know what's happened. Whoa. And of course Dr. Scott, who wasn't there at the time, they then phoned him and he gave me some antibiotics and cortisone and said, "Okay, let's see if we can get it right." And the hearing sort of came back and they had to give me this huge hearing aid and it was like a nightmare. In any case, to cut a long story short, I then had to leave to go and do work in Los Angeles. I landed in New York, everything was fine, I could still hear. And then I flew to Los Angeles. When I arrived in Los Angeles, you know that I couldn't even hear my voice. All I saw were people's mouths moving. Profound deafness. So it was the 13th of December, I got on a plane and came home. But of course, just pre-Christmas, doctors are all going away, no one wants to, and you're panicking. I'm weeping, and everyone's sort of looking at me, I cannot hear anything, it was just a nightmare. And I have a friend who said to me, "You know what, I think you must stop taking this cortisone, and you must stop taking these antibiotics, you need to sort your life out." And it was just before Christmas, the doctors couldn't see me. So I was sort of left lurking, weeping, howling. And my friend said to me, "Come to India with me. Let's go to our ashram." So I said, "Okay, I'll come after Christmas." So on the 6th of Jan, the 2 of us left and we went to this ashram in India. And we arrived in India. I couldn't hear one solitary word, I couldn't hear my voice, nothing, profound deafness, horrible. And this Indian doctor who does Ayurveda, which is this Indian homeopathy, he looked at me and they just hold your pulse, looked in my eyes, he said, "You need to sort your thyroid and your liver out. You've got big problems and you have to lose weight before you can fix any of this hearing." I was like, "What?" He said, "Yes, I'm going to give you a detox. In any case, I was there for 1 week. He kept saying, you need to stay here for 3 weeks. But I had to come home, and my husband was hysterical, my children nobody knew what was happening, and of course couldn't communicate. Horrible. Came back here, and I'm not sure what happened at that ashram, but something clicks and goes, you need to detox, you need to go on diet. So I decided I was going to go off all sugar and all carbs, and I went to see a homeopath. So of course, Dr. Scott, the ENT, and the people all knew I had this problem. Were calling, going, what's going on? Oh, I said, I'm not coming. I'm seeing a homeopath. I'm done. I'm done with this stuff. So off I go to this homeopath, and she said, you need 10 hydrogen peroxide drips. It'll take 10 weeks, 1 a week. That virus is in your cochlea, and it's eating it, and you've got big problems. So I was like, okay, well, what options do I have? In the meantime, Dr. Scott at the Morningside had made an appointment with a specialist for me to go and see, because he said I had some autoimmune disorder, which kind of made sense, because now the Indian doctor's saying you've got a thyroid problem, you've got a liver problem. So I went off to see this doctor, and him and I didn't see eye to eye, because we sat down and I tell him my story, and he looked at me and said, you must stop taking hydrogen peroxide, and homeopaths are a lot of rubbish, and you need to have methotrexate. Do you know what that is? Chemotherapy. I look at him and I say, excuse me, what did you say? He said, you need methotrexate because that's how we treat viruses in the cochlea. I said, I don't need you in my life, I'm out of here. So my husband, who was with me, because now I'm sort of doing sign language, but no one can understand what I'm saying, shouting as well, he said, you're going to have to take it. I said, no, not me. I'm going to fix myself. So, of course, and men process things differently for women. My husband was scared, he was frightened, he was nervous, he had his wife who was deaf. My bosses at work and my children, everybody was sort of like watching me with big eyes, and my friends were all crying when they saw me. Oh, lovely. This is really kind of helping. In any case, to cut a long story short, I said, I'm going to give myself 10 weeks and I'm going to try this. So I went on this huge diet, and I lost 30 kilos. So I was like big and fat. I'll show you a picture. So, I'm still fat, but I was really big and fat. And I lost 30 kilos, and a friend of mine's son had a cochlear implant. And he said to me, get yourself healthy, and when you're healthy, go and see Maurice Hoffman at the Lynxfield. But make sure you're healthy, otherwise they won't touch you. So he said, fix that thyroid of yours, this thyroid problem. Okay. Eventually, my husband owns carte blanche, so I get carte blanche, get someone at carte blanche to phone, because you can't see it, he's fully booked. So I get someone, because they've done programs on him, shows. So somebody phones, and the receptionist says, please, my boss is desperate, please let her come and see. And then they said, okay, if she comes on the 23rd of April, we'll squeeze her in. Just tell her to come at 10 and sit, but she may have to wait for a long time. So I arrive at the Lynxfield, and I get there, and I'm really nervous, because now this is one of those heavyweight doctors. Now I've been seeing the homeopaths, but they had done all my blood tests. And before the homeopath started doing all the hydrogen peroxide and all that stuff, my thyroid was bad. 10 weeks later, my thyroid was very good, and I was looking healthy, and I'd lost. Then, at that point, I'd only lost 20 kilos. So I arrived to see Dr. Hoffman. So I tell him my story, and he was watching me. I could see him sort of watching me with big eyes, and then he said, okay, let me look in your ears. And he was so sweet. He looked at my ears and he said, you know what, I think I can help you. I'm going to run tests for you. Go to the JCIC, the Cochlear people. Let me see if you're going to be a compatible match. And then he looked at me and he said, you can't phone, can you? And I said, no, I'm not due to phone. He said, let me make an appointment. So he phoned and he goes, hello, Dr. Hoffman. Yes, hello, Leonie. How are you? Now I'm watching him, and he says, yes, I've got someone I want you to see. So then he said, when can you go? I said, when can you see me? So he said, tomorrow. So I was like, oh my word. So I said, yes, I'll go. Off I go to Johannesburg, Cochlear, and they made an appointment with Sherry, because she was the only one that could see me the next morning. So I went in there, they stick me in the sound box, and they go, just press some button. They don't even stick stuff in my ears or anything. Just, we want to see what your hearing levels are. And the interesting thing is, when I came back from India, I could hear very, very low sounds, low tone. Thunder, dogs barking, like knock, 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 that kind of, that's only, but no voice, it was just noise. So, and I could hear my voice was slowly starting to come back after all these hydrogen peroxide drips. And then the homeopath said, listen, that virus has eaten your cochlea. You need to get repaired. That needs to, just like an implant that they do with your teeth, you now need to have a cochlear implant. Go and see this Dr. Hoffman. So off I went, and that Sherry Talliard, she said to me afterwards, yes, I think we can help you. She said, you've got a base of hearing that's quite amazing. She said, but it's very distorted, but if we replace the cochlea, I'm sure it'll be fine. Cut a long story short, from the time of leaving there and driving home, which is no more than 20 minutes, there was an email from Dr. Hoffman saying, I've just spoken to the audiologist. She said, you're a fabulous candidate. I've had a cancellation on the 27th of May. I'm seeing Discovery on Monday. I'll prepare you as a case. Stand by. Like that. Well, I was spinning. I was like, oh my word. I think they're going to do something. And then he said, come and see me. You need to have a meningitis injection. We're going to run MRI scans just to check and make sure there's nothing irregular. So I had to do that the next week. They gave me the meningitis injection. And 3 weeks later, I was at the Linksfield at 6 o'clock in the morning. They wheeled me in at 8. They opened up my head, stuck the computer in, and I came out, and he came into, after the, obviously I was sleeping and I didn't know what happened, came out of the theatre, and he said, he came in the room and he just said, your nerve stood straighter. He said, it's fantastic. So he said, well, and they had this big head bandage. I looked like I was going to be in Battlestar Galactica. Like, In any case, I came back, and he said to me, all right, tomorrow morning we'll do x-rays, and then stand by, we'll switch you on in 3 weeks, once the swelling's down. So I sort of came home, was obviously very quiet still, and 3 weeks later, went on the 20th of June to the Johannesburg Cochlear. I can't, and she said, and my friend who had the cochlear implant said, don't have expectations. Understand, it's just this noise that you've never heard, and it's like, takes a while to get used to. And I was sitting there, and the next minute there was this, it sounded like I was in a bell tower, and the bells were going off. There were these sounds that were so loud, and they were just going, bah, bah. I was like, what's that? And she said, no, it takes, your brain's got to kind of understand that it can hear again. It's going to take a few days. And my husband had arranged to take me to Nelspruit for the weekend. So off we went. He was fishing and we were with friends. And I was sitting, and suddenly, these voices started to, they went from this very kind of electrical, slowly the tones, within 2 days, it was so loud. I was like, oh my word, I've never heard like this in my life. And I don't believe that I've heard like I hear now for 30 years. I mean, I can hear better than people that have normal hearing. I can hear people sweeping in the streets outside. I mean, the sounds are just extraordinary. And afterwards, when I went to Dr. Hoffman, I said, it changed my life. This is the most extraordinary thing that ever happened. And he said, you're just such a lovely patient. He said, oh, well, I wish everybody was like you. But he said, you know what? I don't know what you did, that other people didn't do. He said, but you were so right, and so psychologically, mentally, you were ready, you'd prepared yourself, you were healthy. He said, and you know what? Yeah, you are just a fabulous patient. I was like, no, you're such a fabulous doctor. I love you so much. So that's my thought.
What do you think was the biggest challenge that you had to face?
I guess deaf is associated with dumb, because if you were deaf and dumb, you were like sat in the corner and no one spoke to you. And this fear of being totally deaf, I can't begin to tell you. And it can be fixed so easily. I mean, it sounds like it's so traumatic. Was it traumatic? The procedure was really simple. Well, it's not a simple procedure, but it wasn't hectic. They stuck the computer inside, they connected the cochlea, and bingo, you never ever have a problem again. And the sound is 100% clarity. Does it change? It's life changing. So what were the changes? Well, short of being, I think my husband was ready to pack his bags and leave. My children, my life was on the tip of turning like this. It was a nightmare.
And how is family life today?
They're all so proud of me. So sweet. They're so proud of me. And my husband is, they're all over the moon. My children are delighted. My friends, now they weep with joy when they see me, and they're all, what is it, a miracle? It's so amazing. Because who gets second chances in life? This is a second chance, and it's amazing. And even if you just have bad hearing, if you have a cochlear implant, why would you have a hearing aid? Why would you put yourself through that? I would, even though they told me the technology changed 2 years ago so unbelievably that as your hearing goes, you should have a cochlear implant, because the sooner the nerve gets activated, and I'm competing with the birds. As soon as the nerve is activated, the easier it is for them to pull the sound back. Because the longer the nerve is dormant, and the longer that nerve lies flat and does nothing, the biggest problem you have. So you have a hearing problem, go and see if you're a match, and if you're a match, there's no question. I mean, my friend's son who had one, and I are the two happiest people in the world. There we are. I mean, he is, and he's one on the SA cycling team. I mean, he's like amazing. And he just said, it's life-changing. And he also battled with hearing aids, and he had a history of bad hearing. I think he must be about, I'm guessing 38, 39 years old. Family and kids. He also says, it's the most extraordinary thing. So, I mean, there's just no question. Amazing.